Hey, and we're back for episode 2 update for my MHC November civil engineers, and hopefully I've got the sound down enough that it won't be too bad. So let's get to it. This time we'll have episode 2 with a few episode 1s thrown in, and for time purposes, I'm not going to be zipping in thumbnails this time. I'll do that for episode 5 probably, because I have to run and do episode 3 and 4 after this. Episode 5, I am so far behind, and I apologize. So let's get to it, but a lot of things are happening. So let's see. We'll watch these guys over here. Alright, so we're going to start off with first I want to say special thank you to Outfoxed, who left me some very kind words of encouragement and appreciation for the updates. I really appreciate that, Outfoxed. So number 1, we have C. Scott Play. Now, Mr. Scott Play made a beeline for this is his episode 1, by the way. Made a beeline for the large pumpkin patch, made a boat for faster travel, gathered resources on the way to the village, made great time on the river, had a tiny run-in with a cow, chatted with the villagers about trade and markets before grabbing some carrots and heading out to collect resources during the night. He almost took a dive when he opened a deep cave while digging out some dirt from around his stairs. As day 2 broke, he ran back to check on the village and say goodbye. And episode 2, he started bright-eyed and early with a Sweats MS assessment. That's the SWEATMS assessment. Apparently that's a real thing. You ought to go check out his episode 2, and he'll talk about what that means. And the raising of the well. Yeah, he's putting the well up higher. He made his office in one of the bigger houses, went back to raising the well, which included raising the water level simultaneously. He did have a small issue with some villagers not following OSHA codes and regulations. The villager kept running under the well construction area. Finished just as night fell and headed out to gather resources. Dug so far down he found a lake of fire and gold. So very good job, C. Scott Plays, on your episode 1 and 2. And then we have Greg C. 96, who also has episode 1 and 2. So Greg wasted no time making a boat and heading downriver, found the village in record time. First thing he did was to tell one of the villagers that the well would have to be moved, and the villager did not seem too happy to hear that. He gathered some food, rescued a villager trapped in a house hanging out over the fissure. At night he replenished his tool supplies, went toe-to-toe with a creeper, picked up some illegal chicken meat, and after all that fancy parkour across the fissure during the day, he tripped and fell into the fissure. He landed on a very large ledge. Luckily, he climbed out and cleared zombies from the village. Found a squid in the well, and by morning he was down to creepers, leaving holes all around town. In episode 2, Greg C. starts off the day with 3 hearts and 4 drumsticks, does one more dance with that creeper, quote unquote, that creeper, does some very daring maneuvers getting down to the ravine, gathers iron, and keeping with tradition and forgetting that major hunger affects your sprinting, he jumps, quote unquote, over some lava. and it does not end very well. I am looking for, oh, it says Day 3 doesn't exist. T-shirts are coming soon, and I want to be sure I get one, Greg. So I hope you're going to do that, because I like that. That's cool. So yeah, Day 3 doesn't exist. Okay, so that was it for Greg. So he's out of the running for November. Okay, episode 2 for Outfoxed. He started his day getting ready to dig a trench around the village. He made very good progress, and by nightfall he threw down some torches and continued digging. He dispensed with a curious zombie and a meddlesome skelly just before morning. And then we have episode 2 for Lorelei. After clearing the riffraff from her doorway, she went out to see who survived the night. She repaired and installed doors around town. She discussed her plans for expanding and fixing the village. She did some terraforming, and by nightfall she went back down to gather more resources. Came back in time to catch the lovely sounds of mobs burning. Sorry, I can't read my own handwriting. The lovely sounds of mobs burning in the sunlight. And then after Lorelei, we have Grandma's Gone Gaming. Okay, her episode 2, she continues to head south along the river and shortly came across the village. Picked up some crops. She discussed some intriguing facts about village wells while closing off parts of the rift. At sundown, she went out to dig down and collect resources until morning. Honeysuckle, episode 2. Continued following the river, collecting wood and sugarcane along the way, and finally came upon the village. Took stock of the ravine rift, made a bridge utilizing the well, threw down some torches, collected crops, put up cobble walls to keep the villagers from falling into the fissure. At dusk, she dug a stairwell from inside the big house to the ravine. Decided to hang a right instead of venturing out into the rift at night. Ran into a number of cave systems, but kept digging down. Just before morning, she found redstone. And then after Lorelei, we have Baker Bell. Episode 2 for Baker Bell. She ventured out of her grotto right into the path of a neighboring witch. She managed to backtrack into the safety of the grotto, right into a dark cave, but she managed to dig up to the open fields and headed back to the village, stopping to grab more pumpkins. Once in the village, the mayor was so happy to see her he jumped right out of his house to greet her. She made the big house into her office, put some torches down as night fell, and then headed back out for supplies. Realized that she broke the #1 rule of engineering school: don't leave your crafting table behind or unattended, because you never know what someone is going to try and build with it. After Baker Bell, we have Wandering Nerd. He continued following the river, collecting eggs along the way, found the village and grabbed some crops, chopped down trees, and put fences up around the smaller section of the village. Put out lots of torches while going over his strategy of staying in town at night. Interesting info about mob caps, so check out Wandering Nerds episode 2, where he talks about mob caps and why he's decided he's going to stay in the village and that's going to protect the villagers. He made a shield. Continued putting out torches, dug down below the big house for resources, and found iron. Okay, episode 2 for Scotty Garbitas and Max Reiter. Started the morning with an arrow to the back for Scotty as they checked on villagers and then went down into a cave to gather resources. Yeah, I think they came out of the house and a skeleton was somewhere close by and immediately shot Scotty in the back. Let's see. Found a skeleton dungeon spawning loads of skellies. A shootout ensued. Skellies shooting skellies. Skellies shooting Scotty. Scotty swiping skellies. And Max bringing up the rear with torches to light up the spawner. In all fairness, he did swipe at a skelly somewhere in all of that. They worked on getting more cobble for walls, stopped to make a quick tourist attraction, which was terrifying. Yeah, go check out their, look at those two zombies. Go check out their videos and see what the tourist attraction was. Okay, so after Scotty and Max, we have Dragon Feathers. Dragon Feathers finally joined us for November. Episode 1 and 2 for Dragon Feathers. She headed south, picked up pumpkins, wood, sugarcane along the way. Almost had a heart attack as she passed some dark caves with the sounds of baby zombies coming out of them. Dug down as the sun set to gather resources, hoping for a peaceful, uneventful night. Ran into a ravine with an Enderman. Decided to head back up to continue her gathering until morning. Episode 2 for Dragon Feathers. She found the village, surveyed the damage, greeted the villagers, made a few minor repairs, headed out at dusk to dig down and gather resources with the help of her assistant, the chicken. And next we have episode 2 for Dadcraft 73, Pigglesworth, and Zloy XP. As usual, very entertaining episode with the three of them. So they gathered supplies while discussing plans for the village, built a very nice bridge over the well, took the well apart, repaired gardens, built fences, made an access stairway to the ravine, revealed suspicions about villagers being unneighborly, ended the day with a zombie in their house having coffee with a villager. Another entertaining episode. And after that we have... who's next? Episode 2 for Bad Senator. Senator did some minor cleanup around town, had a small setback when a creeper blew up behind him near the well, went down to check the ravine for resources, and dispensed of a zombie in full armor. All he dropped, though, was zombie treats. Took down the well with plans to rebuild it. By dark, he headed out to gather wood, danced with a skelly who left him some arrows. Unfortunately, the other skellies heard of his light-footedness and danced him to death. So, yeah, you ought to go see that. That was pretty good. Good game, Bad Senator, and we will see you next month, I hope. After that, we have Dark Age Man. After double-checking that all the villagers are safe and sound and gathering some wood, he heads underground to collect resources. Discusses his plans for turning the village into a lakeside quarry mining town. Came back up and tripped into the ravine again. I'm pretty sure he tripped into the ravine on the first episode. I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, then it's his first time tripping into the ravine. But he landed on a ledge and climbed back out. Made some tools and discovered that time flies when you're having fun, as it was getting dark sooner than he thought it would. Let's see. In the dark of night, he goes out to do some terraforming and is set upon by a belligerent zombie child who chased him into the house despite being told to stay outside. Very, very funny. I rolled it back twice and watched it. It was so funny. So I suggest you go see Dark Age Man, episode 2. Good game, Dark Age. Okay, and after that we have episode 2 for Tim Obert, Captain Hook. So now he's down to 3 villagers. He makes stone walls and puts them down in the pouring rain, started covering the ravine up, discovered the lake and the other village, found some goodies, and made it back to Hookville just in time for breakfast. And episode 2 for John Fall 92. Started his morning gathering pumpkins on the way to the village, rerouted the path to go down to the well area and up again on the other side, and I think he's the first one and the only one to take that route, instead of raising the well or just bridging over the well or removing it completely. He actually makes the pathway go down to the well. He expanded around it a little bit and then back up on the other side, which is actually very nice. So I was impressed. He made a patio walk around for the villager whose house slid into the ravine during the earthquake. Yeah, he made he just made a little cobble walkway around the house and then did little stairs up so the guy can walk around his house at least and get up into the rest of the village. Lit up areas and cleaned up tall grass. Once the sun set, he headed out to get wood and saplings for a tree farm, and then he dug down to lava and diamond level. Found lava, but did not find any diamonds yet, but I am pretty sure he will find them in the next episode. As we all know, he is a diamond magnet. After that, we have episode 2 for DJ Paul. Oh, he started with a run through to see that all was still intact in the village, gathered wood to make charcoal, installed the airlock in the house, started the zombie trap that will circumference the village, otherwise known as a trench, put up some stone walls, upgraded to iron tools, and headed down to look for diamonds. Ran into a very hyper skelly in a cave, kept digging down until his pick broke, headed up to check on villagers and say goodbye. Yeah, that skeleton, he was just zipping around that cave like an Enderman. Alright, after that we have episode 2, Mac G Mania. Left the house by way of the new side front door. I like that he moved the entrance to the hillside on that really tall house. Yeah, I like that he kind of closed up the original doorway and moved it over. I thought that was a really good idea. I wish I had thought to do that in mine, but I didn't. I made stairs. Let's see. Made a waterfall feature into the ravine. I think it was from one of the little lake, that big lake, and then it has like a river that feeds into it. I believe that's where he did it. Yeah, it's really nice though. He made a nice wide waterfall down there. Discovered the other village, but did not go to investigate it. Went back to town at dusk with plans to start a cellar in the tall house, which he did right up until dawn. Ended with a beautiful Minecraft sunset. Yeah, when morning came, he went up and he was looking out the window, and some of those beautiful Minecraft sunrises, I'm sorry, not sunset, with their colors, really pretty. Okay, after Mac G Mania, we have episode 2 for Java Dad. Gathered up the last bit of coal and iron before heading back to the village. Lit up the houses and grounds while discussing plans for the village. went out and collected birch saplings for a tree farm, upgraded to an iron sword just in time for the mobs to come a-visitin'. After an exciting evening of sparring with zombies and witches and creepers, he was almost blown up by two fashionably late creepers. Yeah, they left a humongous hole in the ground, too. And then we have episode 2 for Granny's Got Game and Catherine. And this is okay, I have 2 episode 2s up. The first one, I had lost a piece of Catherine's footage that goes up in the corner. So when I found it, I just tacked it in where it belonged and then uploaded. It's called episode 2, Complete Daring Rescue, if you want to see her little point of view, which is actually makes that little section with her up on the big walkway she was making a lot funnier. I head on down to the village, where I immediately have a run-in with a baby zombie, but manage to dispatch of him with my pickaxe. Meanwhile, Catherine has found herself back at the beginning and heads south again to find the village, but comes upon a village up in the hilltops instead. By this time I am up in a tree with a skelly shooting at me. Catherine makes her way south again to see if she can find me, and she does. And what ensues next is a very funny rescue attempt. But who is rescuing who? That's the question. Hey, little zombie baby. And after that, we have Emmy Carn. Emmy Carn finally made it to the November challenge. So episode 1 for Emmy Carn. Heads south along the river, grabs the pumpkins from the large pumpkin patch, and continues along the hilltops, keeping an eye on the river. And they kind of like, he'd keep an eye on the river and then he'd kind of go get a tree, and he'd come back, as he's going down, come back and look over, and there'd be the river, right? But he zigs when he should have zagged and ends up following the wrong river. He takes refuge in the hillside, gathering coal once night falls, and shortly after midnight he gathers his courage and heads out to follow the river once more. After a harrowing run through mobs and getting brought down to 1 heart during a tussle with a skelly, he stops along the river overlooking the wide plains and says goodbye. And then episode 2, of course, he's still standing there, and he starts running, along the river again, and he finds himself back at the spawn area. So he picks up the river heading south again, and this time he zags like he should, and he's taking care of his one little heart, just gingerly stepping along, sort of gingerly stepping along, until he took that last step off the hilltop. Yeah. With just 1 heart and his hunger down, I think 2 drumsticks. I'm surprised he made it as far as he did. But so good game, Emmy Carn, and hopefully you will also come back for December. And that is all of our episode 2 plus the episode 1s that came out late. I'm going to make sure I got everybody. Let's see. Yeah, I did. Okay. So now I'm on to episode 3 and 4, which are going to end up being Reader's Digest versions. So you'll see what I mean. Pretty much bullet points. I won't be as embellishing as much. But thank you so much for your patience and coming to visit me and listen to me give you the updates. And I will see you guys in the next update episode, which hopefully will be out in about 6 more hours, depending on how long it takes me to watch everyone's videos. Although now that 3 or 4 of you have died, it should make it a little easier, right? Alright, I'll see you later, gang. Bye.